Chief execs love innovation, they just don't like the people who do it for them, and that's the truth that exists or lurks inside of most companies. And the reason for it is quite simple, and to a large degree you've got to empathise with it. Chief execs are responsible for company strategy and for the steady rate of growth and profits that throws off, and in turn accountable for a shareholder for a growth and profit number. And so not surprisingly, being able to predict things is where a chief exec will get their confidence from. In fact, I would go on to say that predictability is in fact a chief exec's best friend. And if you don't believe me, then just ask anybody who's given a chief exec a surprise, and I'm sure you'll find they'll actually back that up. Now, to get to the strategy, a chief exec will often use a management consultancy company to help define or execute their plan, sometimes even both. Meanwhile, over in innovation, the responsibility of the company's new stuff falls to the head of innovation. The head of innovation is accountable for brands, for insights, for consumers, and for filling the product pipeline with fanciful new stuff that will win over consumers in all that they compete with. And that person will often use a design company to help create the products that fill that pipeline. The truth is, though, that some of the time, in fact most of the time, what they create doesn't work. And in turn, the revenues expected from the innovation strategy don't eventuate, and the chief exec, who values predictability amongst all else, looks, not surprisingly, somewhat sceptically in at the head of innovation, and probably all the creative firms that helped them on that journey, believing that they may very well understand brands, they may very well understand consumers, they may even have amazing ideas, but I just don't believe they know how to make money. And another thing, just on the side, is that the head of innovation will often look quite sceptically over at the chief exec's management consultancy firm. For beyond being the brunt of half the world's jokes, management consultancy companies do many things and many things well. Just creating breakthrough ideas and the creativity necessary to generate them isn't one of them. And that's the truth. And with that truth comes a tension. And from that tension, a prediction. A prediction that anyone who can bring a credible product to the chief exec's table that can bridge the gap between company innovation and company strategy, a capability that can generate an ability to understand where new growth lies and an ability to create wondrous new products or solutions that best exploit that and know how to help a company effectively execute it, you would believe would become the most sought after capability in any large or not so large company in this country. Because the reason, again, is simple. The results from innovation would now become more predictable. More products would work, less would fail. And predictability is the chief exec's best friend. So you could assume, quite rightfully, that whenever a growth plan soiree was being called, you would get the invitation. So call this new capability a design company management consultancy hybrid. Call this new capability not the best practice, but in fact the next practice. Call this where money meets magic. Call this whatever you choose. But it will be where and how this 8 years young outsourcing of innovation industry will be heading next.